Hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. This is a quick update about the current state of the UDPI risk indicators for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and these 20 altcoins that you see up here on your screen. These are the ones that we're currently monitoring. And what I'm going to be doing in this video is not so much looking for individual assets to buy or sell, but more trying to look for trends across all of the assets to see what they can tell us about the risk level of the market as a whole. This is a very different methodology for analyzing total crypto market risk than most other approaches that you'll find out there. So stick around, see what it tells us, and if you find it useful, give the video a like and leave a comment below. Let us know what you think. So what's great about this approach is that it's an efficient way to use the entire historical price data of 22 assets at the same time to draw broad conclusions about risk right now. This is an efficient way to incorporate a lot of information, is what it comes down to. And that's, I think, the unique value of this approach. And so let's see what it tells us. Here are some things that we can take away from looking at these assets. Just to orient you in case you're not familiar, these are risk gauges for those 22 assets. They go from -5 on the left in green to +5 on the right in red. And the green low readings that point to the left indicate that there's relatively low risk for that asset at a given point in time, and the opposite is true for right pointing needles in the red territory as they approach +5. So +5 is higher risk, -5 is lower risk. And we can scan across these. That's the purpose of these gauges, is to enable us to kind of absorb all this information in a very efficient way, just by kind of scanning across them. But if we look closely, here are some things that we can take away from looking at where things stand right now. One is that the vast majority of these assets are in negative territory, 18 out of the 22, and half of them are below -2, 11 out of 22. That's a bullish signal. That means that the market is, that a lot of the downside potential has already been realized for many of these assets, and that the market as a whole is starting to show quite a bit more upside potential. That's a bullish signal. On the other hand, one asset is still above +1 and actually pretty close to +2 still. That's Avalanche, AVAX up there in that top row. And ETH is also almost at 1, also in positive territory. And there are a couple of others that are also in positive territory. That's a bearish signal in a downtrend because it means that there's more downside potential that's possible in the near to midterm future, especially for Ethereum, which is a market leader. This would suggest that there's some downside potential that's realistic. So you'd have to think about that one as a bearish signal. On the bullish side, another thing though that we could point to is the fact that 5 assets now out of the 22, almost a quarter, are below -3, and one of them is below -4. That's HBAR over on the right at -4.34, but also DOT at -3.66. VeChain at -3.68, and Link at -3.01. A couple others approaching that territory like Phantom, Kusama, and others. Zill is about to reach -3. So that's a bullish signal because that indicates that for those assets, a lot of what the model would consider to be realistic downside potential has already been realized. So these are a few signals, and obviously not the only ones that we could take away. We can look at the proportion at each level across these 22 assets, and we can do a variety of analyses. And these ones just illustrate the kind of information that you can take away. So what can you take away from this? Well, the way that I would interpret it and kind of summarize it is that the market is pretty oversold, and a bounce from here would be consistent with historical price action for a lot of assets. But at the same time, the market is not that oversold, and there is more downside potential remaining. Now, the word potential is key there. That potential does not have to be realized, but it is there. So we'll continue to monitor these 22 indicators. We'll keep you posted, especially as additional benchmarks trigger. And so, the main thing that I'll be watching next is whether all assets will flip negative, and that's especially Ethereum, and also AVAX, but Ethereum because of its role as a linchpin of the market. So that's the thing that I'll be watching next. So keep you posted. If you find this useful, like and subscribe. And remember, with the UDPI